The mower's blade caught on something buried in the grass. A rusted chain link from some forgotten goalpost, and it yanked me forward like a noose tightening around my neck. I stumbled, the engine roaring in protest. And that's when I heard the laugh. Deep, unforced, cutting through the humid August drone like a lifeline I didn't know I needed. "Easy there, cowboy," he said, jogging over from the bleachers, his shadow long and lean against the dying sun. "You mow that field any harder, you'll unearth the school's buried scandals." I killed the engine, wiping sweat from my brow, and looked up into eyes the color of storm clouds over Lake Michigan. Gray-green, piercing, the kind that make you forget your own name. His name was Dante, he'd say later, but in that moment, he was just the guy who saved me from turning the campus quad into a crime scene. We were both sophomores at Elmwood State, a sprawling public university in the flatlands of central Illinois, where cornfields stretched like golden oceans and the wind carried whispers of futures yet to be planted. I was Jace Harlan, the quiet psych major from a trailer park outside Peoria. Working grounds crew to pay for books and the occasional six-pack. Mowing the athletic field was my summer gig, a mindless ritual that let me escape the noise in my head, the echo of my dad's slurred disappointments, the ghost of a high school sweetheart who'd ghosted me after one too many faggot whispers in the locker room. Dante Ramirez was different. He appeared out of nowhere that afternoon, a transfer from some community college downstate, with skin kissed by Chicago summers and a fade haircut that screamed effortless cool. He was in the engineering program, he told me as he grabbed the mower's handle without asking, his biceps flexing under a faded Blackhawks tee. "Name's Dante. Saw you wrestling that beast from afar. Figured you could use a hand before you turn into a human mulch pile." His voice had that South Side lilt, all rhythm and warmth, like the blues drifting from a corner bar on a Friday night. We fell into step, the mower humming between us like a reluctant third wheel. The field was vast, a sea of green under the relentless Midwest sun, dotted with the skeletons of autumn goalposts waiting for football season. As we pushed, he talked easy, unfiltered stories about growing up in Pilsen, dodging gang tags on his way to school, his mom's tamales that could make a grown man cry from joy. I laughed, surprising myself, and shared bits of my own mess. The dad who fixed transmissions by day and drowned regrets by night. The mom who'd left when I was 10, chasing a dream in Nashville that never quite sang. It was the kind of conversation that sneaks up on you, the words weaving tighter than the grass under our boots. By the time the sun dipped low, painting the sky in bruised purples, we'd finished half the field. Dante wiped his forehead with the hem of his shirt, flashing a sliver of toned abs dusted with dark hair, and I felt that pull, the magnetic tug I'd buried deep since puberty hit like a freight train. "Beer?" he asked, nodding toward the cooler I'd stashed by the equipment shed. We cracked open cans, the cold fizz a sacrament against the heat, and sat on the bleachers, legs dangling like kids on a pier. That's when he turned to me, really turned, his knee brushing mine in a way that sent sparks up my spine. "You know, Jace, most guys out here are all bravado and bullshit. You're real. Like, quietly kicking ass real." I swallowed hard, the beer bitter on my tongue. No one had ever said that to me. Not like he meant it, eyes locked on mine with an intensity that stripped away the small talk. The air thickened, charged with the scent of cut grass and possibility. We talked until the cicadas screamed twilight, about dreams deferred. His sketches of bridges that could span the Chicago River without a single lie, my half-baked theories on why broken boys like us always end up fixing everyone else's messes. When he stood to leave, clapping my shoulder with a grip that lingered, I felt it. The thread pulling taut, invisible but unbreakable. Little did I know that afternoon was the spark. The fire would come later, scorching everything in its path. Fall semester hit like a linebacker, classes piling on like wet leaves in a gutter. Elmwood's campus buzzed with that electric hum of new beginnings. Frat parties spilling laughter into the quad, leaves turning the paths into rivers of rust and gold. Dante and I crossed paths daily now. Study sessions in the library's dim corners, where he'd doodle trust designs on my psych notes. Pick up basketball at the rec center, his drives to the hoop poetry in motion, sweat gleaming like liquid bronze. We were friends, sure, but it was more a quiet orbit, gravitational and inevitable. One crisp October evening, after a brutal thermodynamics lecture he'd aced and I'd bombed, we ended up at the Rusty Anchor, Elmwood's dive bar staple off campus. Neon signs flickered over scarred wooden tables, the jukebox crooning Springsteen like a weary confessor. Beers turned to shots of cheap whiskey, and the conversation veered reckless. "Ever feel like you're waiting for something to break you open?" Dante asked, his voice low, fingers tracing the rim of his glass. Our knees knocked under the table, and neither pulled away. I nodded, heart hammering. "Every damn day, like I'm holding my breath for the punchline." That's when he leaned in, close enough I could smell the cedar of his cologne mixed with hops. "What if the punchline's not a joke, Jace? What if it's us?" His words hung there, a dare wrapped in vulnerability. I met his gaze, those storm eyes pulling me under, and before I could overthink it, I closed the gap. Our lips met, tentative at first, then fierce, a collision of pent-up longing that tasted like freedom and fear in equal measure. The kiss lingered, the bar fading to static around us. When we broke apart, breathless, he grinned that crooked smile. "Took you long enough to catch up." We laughed, sealing something unspoken, and walked back to campus hand in hand under street lamps that cast us in halos of amber. That night, in my cramped dorm room overlooking the quad, we talked until dawn. Not about labels or logistics, but about the ache of hiding, the thrill of being seen. Dante shared stories of his abuela's rosary beads, prayers for a grandson she'd never understand. I confessed the scar on my rib from a high school fight over a stolen glance in the showers. It was raw, real, the kind of intimacy that stitches souls. But Elmwood wasn't Chicago or Peoria. It was a microcosm of Middle America, where football reigned and whispers could curdle milk. Our secret bloomed in stolen moments. Coffee runs where our fingers brushed like lightning rods. Late-night drives along Route 47. Windows down. Radio blasting The Killers as cornstalks blurred by. Dante's laugh became my anchor, his touch my compass. He sketched me once, charcoal on newsprint, capturing the curve of my jaw with a tenderness that made my chest ache. "You're my North Star, Harlan," he'd murmur, pulling me close on the hood of his beat-up Ford pickup, stars wheeling overhead like indifferent witnesses. Yet cracks spiderwebbed early. My roommate, Tyler, a linebacker with a jaw like an anvil and opinions forged in Fox News reruns, started side-eyeing me after catching Dante lingering too long one morning. "Heard you two been thick as thieves." He'd grunt over protein shakes, his tone laced with that casual venom. I brushed it off, but Dante felt it too, the weight of eyes on the quad, the frat bros jokes turning sharp. "It's nothing," he'd say, but his sketches grew darker, bridges buckling under invisible storms. Thanksgiving loomed like a guillotine. I headed home to Peoria, the Amtrak rattling through frost-laced fields, Dante staying in Chicago to visit family. Texts flew like lifelines. His photos of skyline lights, my blurry shots of the Mississippi's muddy churn. But when I returned, something shifted. Dante was quieter, his hugs tighter, like he was memorizing the feel of me. "Abuela asked about you," he said one night, voice muffled against my neck. "Told her you're the guy who makes the best bad decisions. Like trusting a Southsider with a mower." I chuckled, but unease gnawed. Then came the party. Sigma Chi's winter formal, a glittering trap in the student union. We went as friends, plausible deniability in khakis and button-downs. But under the disco ball's fractured light, we danced, bodies sinking like we'd rehearsed a lifetime. His hand on my waist, my breath on his collar, electric, defiant. Until Tyler cornered us by the punch bowl, breath reeking of natty light. "Ramirez, you turning my boy here? Elmwood's got standards, man." The words landed like fists. Dante stiffened, but I stepped forward, fire in my veins. "Back off, Ty. It's none of your business." The room hushed, eyes prickling our skin. Tyler laughed, ugly and loud, but backed down, muttering slurs that echoed long after. We left early, the cold slapping sense into us. In Dante's truck, Parked by the frozen pond, he broke. I can't do this half in, Jace. Hiding is killing me, but losing you. His voice cracked, and I pulled him close, our foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the cab's warmth. We won't hide forever, I whispered, believing it like prayer. But prayers in the heartland have a way of twisting. Winter gripped Elmwood like a grudge, snow blanketing the campus in hush-white lies. Dante and I carved out our world in the margins. Study breaks in the engineering lab, where he'd explain stress loads while I traced his knuckles. Bonfires on the edge of town, flames leaping as we shared dreams of post-grad escapes. Him to a firm in the loop, me to grad school in Boston, maybe. Our love deepened, roots delving into fertile soil, but shadows lengthened too. Tyler's whispers spread like frostbite, frat brothers crossing the street, a professor's raised brow during office hours. Then came the betrayal, sharp as a switchblade in the ribs. It started with a letter, creased, anonymous, slipped under my dorm door like contraband. Your boy's playing you, Harlan. Check his phone. For old time's sake. My stomach churned, but curiosity is a cruel master. That night, while Dante showered after hoops, I scrolled his texts, heart pounding like a war drum. There it was, messages to an ex, Marco, from Pilsen days. Miss you, man. Jace is great, but you get me. Come visit. Followed by plans for a weekend in Chicago, dates overlapping our spring break. The world tilted. I confronted him in the steam-hazed bathroom, towel clutched like a shield. What's this, Dante? Am I just the campus fling till the real deal shows up? His face drained of color, eyes wide with shock. Jace, it's not. Marco's just a friend, reaching out 'cause he heard I'm happy. I told him no, but the doubt festered, a poison seeping slow. We argued, voices echoing off tiles. Me hurling accusations born of old wounds. Him pleading with that raw honesty that had hooked me first. I love you, you idiot. You're the one who mowed into my life. We made up, fragile as new ice, but the crack remained. Trust, once shattered, rebuilds crooked. Spring thawed the fields, but not us. Our touches grew tentative, conversations laced with unspoken barbs. Dante threw himself into finals, his sketches now labyrinths of collapse spans. I buried in psych papers on attachment theory, irony bitter as black coffee. The campus bloomed, tulips defiant against April rains, but our connection frayed, threads pulling loose. The climax crashed on a stormy Saturday in May, the kind of Midwest tempest that floods basements and unearths secrets. I'd spotted Marco's car, a cherry-red Impala, parked outside Dante's off-campus rental, rain sheeting the windows like veils. Heart in throat, I pounded on the door, thunder rumbling approval. Dante answered, drenched from a run, confusion etching his brow. Jace? What? Inside, Marco lounged on the couch, all easy swagger and Pilsen ink. Hey, heard about you. His smile was a blade. Dante explained. Marco crashing uninvited. A favor turned fiasco, but rage blinded me. Liar. I spat, the letters echo deafening. Words flew. My insecurities a torrent, his frustrations a gale. Marco watched, smirking, until Dante snapped, shoving him toward the door. Get out. This is between us. But the damage was done. In the downpour, on the lawn turning to mud, we faced off. Rain plastering shirts to skin, lightning fracturing the sky. You think I betrayed you? Dante yelled, voice breaking over the roar. After everything? I chose you, Jace. Every damn day. I lunged, not to hit, but to hold, our bodies colliding in a tangle of desperation. Fists clenched, then unclenched. Sobs mingled with rain. He pulled a crumpled letter from his pocket. My anonymous note, forwarded by a mutual friend who'd seen Tyler's handiwork. This was a setup. Tyler, that prick. He's been gunning for us since the party. Revelation hit like thunderclap. Betrayal, but not Dante's, Tyler's, fueled by small-town bigotry and bruised ego. We sank to our knees in the muck, the field we'd mowed that first day now a battlefield of our making. I'm sorry. I gasped, burying my face in his neck, salt and storm on my tongue. I love you. God, I love you. He held me fierce, whispers fierce against the gale. We fight this together. No more hiding. The storm broke at dawn, sun-piercing clouds like absolution. We cleaned up, mud-caked and spent, and drove to the rusty anchor for coffee, black, strong like resolve. Tyler got his comeuppance weeks later. A campus hearing after Dante's anonymous tip exposed his slurs, suspension stripping his captain's stripes. Elmwood shifted, ripples from our stand. LGBTQ club meetings swelling, a rainbow flag fluttering defiant on the quad. Graduation came soft, caps tossed under June skies heavy with promise. Dante landed an internship in the city, bridges waiting to be built. I got into a Boston program, therapy theories itching for real-world scars. We stood on that field one last time, mower long retired, hands clasped as fireflies danced like errant stars. This isn't goodbye, he said, thumb tracing my knuckles. It's the long afternoon continuing. And it did. Years later, from a cramped Cambridge apartment, I'd call him in Chicago, his voice steady over the line. Blueprints unfurling, our love a structure enduring quakes. Betrayal had tested us, conflict forged steel from straw. But in the end, it was human, flawed, fierce, achingly alive. We mowed into each other's lives that summer day, and neither anticipated the harvest. Not just connection, but a legacy of roots deep enough to weather any storm. Looking back, that final stand on the muddy lawn wasn't the end of the drama. It was the hinge, swinging us toward a future laced with more shadows than we'd bargained for. Dante and I packed up Elmwood like nomads fleeing a flood. My duffels stuffed with psych texts and faded teas. His portfolio brimming with schematics that dreamed in steel and glass. The drive to Chicago was a pilgrimage. Route 80 unspooling like a ribbon of blacktop regrets and rebirths. We stopped at diners with checkered floors and waitresses who called us Han. Sharing pie under fluorescent mercy. His hand on my thigh a quiet vow. His family's brownstone in Pilsen welcomed us warily. Abuela's eyes sharp as taconazos, sizing me up over plates of pozole that steamed with unspoken questions. So, this is the boy who mows fields? She asked, her English clipped but kind. Rosary beads clicking like Morse code. Dante translated the warmth beneath her scrutiny, and by week's end, she'd slipped me a jar of salsa verde. For when life gets too bland, Mijo, his mom, a nurse with hands calloused from endless shifts, hugged me fierce at the door. Take care of my Dante. He's got a heart bigger than this city. But cities devour hearts if you're not vigilant. Dante's internship at a loop firm was a grind. Dawn commutes on the L. Nights hunched over CD software till his eyes burned. I crashed their weekends. Boston's pull a distant ache. Our reunions feverish. Tangled sheets and take-out tie, his laughter chasing away the week's wolves. Yet Marco lingered like a bad aftertaste. He texted sporadically, just checking in, bro. And Dante showed me every one. Transparency his new religion. Still, jealousy gnawed. A rat in the walls, whispering what-ifs from my trailer park youth. Fall in Boston hit brutal. Crimson leaves carpeting the Charles like spilled blood. My grad program was a pressure cooker. Seminars dissecting Freud's ghosts. Clinical rotations where patients' traumas mirrored my own. I called Dante at midnight his time, his voice groggy but gold. Miss your stubborn ass, Harlan. Build any bridges today. I'd laugh, recounting a kid's breakthrough in therapy. But the distance stretched, time zones and term papers pulling us thin. The first real fracture came over Thanksgiving, my second exile from Peoria. Dad had sobered up, sort of AA meetings and a new transmission shop gig. But the invitation was perfunctory. Room at the table if you want it. I opted for Chicago, craving Dante's orbit. But his firm threw a holiday gala, schmoozy suits and champagne flutes, and Marco showed. Uninvited again, charm dialed to 11. Dante's old wingman, he grinned, clapping my back too hard. Over appetizers, he cornered me by the ice sculpture. You know, Jace, Dante and I, we were fire once. He's settling, but fire don't settle easy. His words slithered in, venom sweet as eggnog. I confronted Dante in the coat room, coats muffling our whispers. He's poison, Dante. Why entertain him?
Dante je zjautajtend, tie askeu.
Because cutting ties don't erase history, Jace. Marco's lost, gang scars, bad choices. I owe him grace. Grace. The word stung, echoing my therapy mantras, but in the moment it felt like license. We drove home in silence, the magnificent miles lights mocking our dimming spark. Winter deepened the rift. Snow blanketed the loop, but our calls grew clipped. His exhaustion bleeding into accusations, my insecurities flaring like cabin fever. You're always working, I'd snap. And you're always doubting, he'd fire back. Marco's shadow loomed. A photo surfaced on Instagram. Him and Dante at a Bulls game, arms slung casual. Caption: reunited and it feels so good. Dante swore it was harmless. A firm outing. But the knife twisted. Climax brewed in March. A Chicago blizzard trapping me stateside for spring break. I flew in unannounced, heart pounding with reconciliation's wild hope. But the brownstone door opened to chaos. Dante pacing the living room, phone in hand, Abuela's crucifix glinting like judgment. Jace, shit, you're here. His eyes were red-rimmed, voice raw. Marco had OD'd the night before, pills and regret in a Pilsen walk-up. Dante had been at the hospital till dawn, holding vigil for a ghost. Guilt crashed over me, tidal and total. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded, but it came out wrong, accusatory, not aching. He whirled, fury unleashed. Because you'd spin it into betrayal. Like everything's a goddamn plot against us. Words erupted. My jealousy a cage, his loyalty a chain. Marco the specter we'd both fed. Abuela intervened, her Spanish a soothing torrent, pulling us to the kitchen table laden with pan dulce. Enough, niños. Love isn't a battlefield, it's a bridge. Build it, or watch it burn. We sat, spent, sugar dusting our silence. Dante's hand found mine under the table, tentative bridgework. I almost lost him last night. Made me see. I can't lose you too. Tears carved tracks down his cheeks, and I gathered him close, apologies tumbling like snowflakes. Marco pulled through, shaky but alive, and Dante set boundaries, final, firm. No more grace without guardrails. Spring thawed us slow. I returned to Boston renewed, therapy sessions now dissecting our fractures instead of fearing them. Dante's firm promoted him, his designs gracing a new pedway over the river, a span of glass and grace. We visited that summer, walking its length hand in hand, tourists parting around us like water. Our bridge, he murmured, kissing my temple. But humanism demands reckoning. Dad's shop folded that fall, sobriety cracking under bills. I drove home, Dante shotgun, facing the man who'd shaped my doubts. Peoria welcomed us gray, the Mississippi sullen under overcast skies. Dad met us at the diner, haggard, humbled, over coffee that tasted like defeat. Heard you're happy, son. His voice gravel, eyes averted. Dante squeezed my knee, anchor steady. We talked, halting, human, about amends, not absolutions. Dad's sorry was a brick, imperfect but offered, and I took it, building. By year's end, we'd woven a new normal, monthly flights, shared Google calendars like love letters. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by deeper roots. His abuela's recipes in my kitchen, my psych insights easing his stresses. It wasn't fairy tale. Conflicts simmered, small betrayals of time and temper. But in the quiet, like that long afternoon on the field, we found the connection. Not anticipated, but earned. A testament to boys who mowed through storms to tell something true. 2 years blurred into a mosaic of milestones and missteps. Our love a patchwork quilt stitched from cross-country threads. Boston's brick charm grew on me. Charles River runs at dawn. Therapy clinics humming with stories sadder than mine. But Dante's absence was a hollow note in every symphony. We'd mastered the art of longing. Video calls where I'd prop my phone on the windowsill, him waving from his tiny Wrigleyville studio. Cubs banners fluttering like flags of fidelity. "Hurry home, bridge boy," he'd tease, and I'd laugh, ignoring the ache. Marco's shadow receded. A cautionary tale turned footnote. He relocated to Milwaukee, clean 6 months, sending occasional postcards. Bridge sketches Dante had inspired, captioned with wry gratitude. It humanized him, stripped the villainy, and in therapy, I unpacked the jealousy. Not just Marco, but the boy I'd been, trailer-bound and terrified of touch. Dante did the same, sessions over craft beers in Andersonville, dissecting how Pilsen's machismo had armored his heart against mine. Conflict reignited subtly, insidious as ivy. My program demanded a thesis, attachment in queer couples, irony thick as fog, and Dante's firm exploded with a high-profile project. Redesigning a flood barrier post a brutal Ohio River surge. Deadlines collided like freight cars. Calls dropped mid-sentence. Texts unread till dawn. Frustration brewed, bubbling over one April night in a pixelated fight. "You're married to that river now," I accused, voice tinny over Zoom. His face, pixelated and pained, filled the screen. "And you're wedded to theories that say I'm failing you. Come on, Jace, we're better than this." He was right, but pride is a stubborn weed. I hung up, storming the common, spring rain soaking my regrets. Days passed in radio silence, a self-imposed exile that echoed my mom's long-ago flight. Then, a package arrived. Not flowers or apologies, but a small wooden model. His hands work, a miniature bridge spanning a bottle-cap river. Engraved base reading, "For the gaps we crossed together." Enclosed note, "Fly home, let's rebuild." I did, landing in O'Hare amid a heat wave that turned the city to a skillet. Dante met me at baggage claim, arms open, no words needed. We drove to the lakefront, Montrose Beach thronged with sunbathers, and walked the shore, waves lapping like confessions. "I hate the distance," he admitted, sand gritting between toes. "Feels like I'm always chasing you." I stopped, turning him to face the endless blue. "Then let's stop running. Job market here's decent. I'll transfer credits if I have to." The decision settled like dust after a gale. By summer's end, I'd secured a spot at Northwestern's counseling program, Chicago's pulse syncing with ours. We pooled for a one-bedroom in Logan Square. Exposed brick, creaky floors, a fire escape perfect for morning coffees. Unpacking was ritual. His drafting table by the window, my bookshelf sagging with Jung and Haley. That first night, christening the space with pizza from Pat's and a playlist of Bon Iver ballads, felt like homecoming. Dante pulled me onto the futon, slow kisses tracing the map of our survival. "We're building, Jace. Not just surviving. But America doesn't yield easy to dreamers." My new clinic served the South Side, teens navigating identities in zip codes where gay was graffiti or gospel. Cases bled into dreams. A kid like young Dante, sketching escapes from tagged alleys. Another echoing my dad, addictions chaining generations. Dante's project hit snags, budget cuts, bureaucratic red tape, turning his easy grin to grim lines. We'd collapse evenings, take out containers between us, venting over Malort shots that tasted like licorice lies. Betrayal struck sideways, from kin this time. Dad announced his engagement, to a woman from AA, broad-shouldered and no-nonsense, inviting us to the wedding in Peoria. "Bring the family," he said, voice gruff but genuine. We drove down, nerves jangling like loose change, the Mississippi welcoming us with humid arms. The ceremony was backyard simple. Folding chairs on crabgrass, cake from the grocery. Dad's vows. "I promise to show up, sober and whole." Hit like grace notes, his bride's hand steady in his. But Tyler was there. Ex-linebacker turned auto parts salesman, guts spilling over his belt, beer in fist. Elmwood scars fresh, he cornered Dante by the grill. "Ramirez, still playing tutor to strays." The slur slithered out, casual as ketchup. Dante stiffened, spatula midair, but I stepped in, voice steel. "Walk away, Ty. Some bridges you don't burn, you drown under." Guests hushed, Dad's eyes widening, but Tyler slunk off, tail tucked. Later, by the fire pit, Dad clapped my shoulder. Proud of you, son. For standing. For loving loud. It was absolution, partial but potent. Driving back, skyline rising like a promise. Dante's hand in mine felt unbreakable. Yet climax loomed in autumn's amber haze. Dante's firm bid on a massive contract. A pedestrian span over the Calumet, symbol of Southside revival. He poured soul into it. Sustainable steel, LED veins pulsing like heartbeats. Presentation day dawned crisp, team suits starched. I waited in the lobby, clinic shift postponed, nerves thrumming. The call came at noon, lost. A rival firm's lower bid, greased by lobbyists who'd whispered doubts about that Ramirez kids. Distractions. Dante stormed out, tie yanked loose, eyes thunder. They saw us at the holiday party, Jace. Hand in hand. Branded me unreliable. Rage boiled. Not at me, but the system, the subtle sabotages queerness invites. We raged home. Chicago's canyons echoing our fury. Petitions drafted. Emails fired to equity boards. The fallout was a tempest. Dante spiraled. Sketches shredded. Bottles emptied. While I held vigil, therapy tools blunt against his grief. Marco called. Sober voice a lifeline. Fight smart, hermano. I got a contact at the Sun-Times. We rallied. Op-eds submitted. Allies mobilized from Elmwood's old guard. Climax peaked at a city council hearing. Fluorescent glare on wooden benches. Dante testified, voice steady as rebar. This bridge isn't just metal. It's movement, connection for communities too long divided. Deny it, and you deny us all. The room crackled. Counselors shifting, activists nodding. We won. Barely. Bid reopened. Scrutiny on the rivals. Dante's design prevailed. Groundbreaking under July fireworks. But victory tasted bittersweet. The fight scarred, reminding us love in America is activism. Every embrace a quiet revolt. Through it, our bond deepened, human, resilient. Abuela's health waned that winter, rosaries clicking softer, but she met our official status with a nod. Build strong, boys. Storms come. We did, weathering her passing with shared eulogies in Pilsen Basilica. Tears salt on fresh tamales. Betrayal's lessons lingered, but so did grace. Tyler's anonymous apology letter years later, post-redemption. In the end, our story wasn't plot twist perfect. It was profoundly us. Two Midwestern hearts mowing fields of doubt to plant something eternal. 5 years in, Chicago had etched itself into our bones. Its jazz veins pulsing through late-night strolls in Wicker Park. Its steel spine mirroring Dante's rising arc. My practice thrived. A cozy office off Milwaukee Avenue where clients unpacked closets I'd long aired. Dante's bridges dotted the skyline. The Calumet span a beacon for bike commuters, his name etched in cornerstone copper. We upgraded to a Ukrainian village row house, backyard garden for Abuela's childs, front stoop for neighborhood nods that no longer lingered. Life's rhythm was a blues riff, steady groove with improvised solos. Weekends meant dives like the Empty Bottle, sweating to local bands. Holidays, Peoria pilgrimages where Dad's wife baked pies that rivaled apologies. We'd host game nights. Dante's engineer pals debating load-bearing arcs. My therapist crew probing subtext till laughter dissolved tension. Intimacy evolved too. Not fireworks, but hearth glow. Lazy Sundays with the New York Times crossword. His head on my lap, my fingers carting his salt and pepper hints at his temples. Yet conflict is America's shadow, cast long even in prosperity. It slunk in via email. An Elmwood alumni gala, silver anniversary bash for the psych department. Honorary keynote? The dean wrote, flattering my publications on queer resilience. Dante encouraged it, go strut Harlan. But unease prickled. Tyler was on the roster, reformed poster boy. From field to firm, lessons in leadership. The drive to Illinois was nostalgic ache, corn whispering memories. Campus gleamed, new solar arrays, pride flags year-round, but ghosts milled the quad. Gala night. In a banquet hall strung with Edison bulbs, I spotted him. Tyler, Silver Fox now, clapping backs with donors. Our eyes met across shrimp cocktail. He approached, hand extended. Jace, water under the bridge. His grip was firm, smile rehearsed. Dante at my side in a tailored blazer, tensed like a cable. Small talk soured quick. Heard Ramirez built that loop eyesore. Tyler quipped to the table, wine loosening tongues. Bet it sways in the wind, kinda like old times. Laughter rippled. Uneasy. Dante's fork clattered. I rose, chair scraping indictment. Funny, Ty, but bridges stand. Unlike some folks' spines. The room chilled, Dean intervening with toasts, but damage bloomed. Backstage, post-keynote. Applause still ringing. Dante unraveled in the green room. Why'd you let him near us? After everything. His voice cracked, vulnerability raw. I pulled him close, mirrors reflecting our fractured glow. I thought, redemption. But it's never clean, is it? We drove home silent, radio off, the betrayal not Tyler's barb but my naivete, inviting old wolves to new doors. Fallout festered. Dante withdrew, studio nights yielding designs edged in anger. My sessions overflowed with projections, clients mirroring my unrest. Marco visited, Milwaukee thriving in graphic design, bearing whiskey and wisdom. Forgive the wound, not the scar. You too? You're the strongest span I know. His words bridged our breach. We talked, really talked, over skyline sunsets from the Art Institute roof. I fear losing you to the past. Dante confessed, Picasso's lovers staring down. Then let's bury it, I replied, and build forward. Climax crested unexpectedly. A gift wrapped in grief. Dad's cancer diagnosis landed like a derailment, pancreatic, stage 3, Peoria's VA hospital humming with sterile urgency. We dropped everything. Dante canceling site visits, me handing off clients. The drive south was a vigil, highways blurring tears. Dad wasted fast, frame folding like cheap cardstock, but his eyes held fire.
Regret, son?
Don't have mine. In hospice hush, he gripped our hands. Dante's calluses against his paper skin. You boys, you're the bridge I never crossed. Thank you. His passing was quiet. November leaves carpeting the grave like condolences. Funeral drew kin I'd forgotten. Aunties with potluck casseroles. Cousins toasting with PBR. Tyler showed. Suit somber, eulogy halting. Jack Harlan taught grit. I learned late. No handshake, but a nod, humanity's fragile truce. In the raw aftermath, Dante and I mourned Midwestern style. Bonfire on the riverbank, Dad's old LP spinning Johnny Cash laments. He saw us. I whispered, flames painting our faces. Whole. Dante's arm tightened. And loved us for it. Rebuilding post-loss was alchemy. Grief's lead to gold's gleam. We adopted a rescue mutt. Rusty, all wiry fur and wagging defiance. Turning runs into pack rituals. Dante's firm greenlit a memorial project. A pedestrian path along the Illinois, etched with quotes on endurance. I contributed panels on mental health waypoints, therapy in steel. Groundbreaking dawned foggy, but cleared to blue, ribbon cut. First steps taken hand in hand. Betrayal's final echo came via letter. Tyler's, forwarded from Elmwood. Saw your dad's obit. Wish I'd known him better. You and Dante, you'll built what I broke. Respect. It sat on our mantle, unread aloud but absorbed. A chapter closed, not with fanfare, but quiet nod. By spring, we'd planted roots deeper. Engagement whispers over Wicker Park brunches. Rings sketched in Dante's idle hand. No Vegas excess. A backyard vow under Abuela's old oak. Witnesses our patchwork tribe. Love, we'd learned, isn't absence of storm. It's the engineering after, reinforcements where winds howl, expansions for growth. Ours was American as apple pie and protest marches. Dramatic in its devotion. Suspense in its survival. Emotional in its every exhale. That long afternoon on the field exceeded a lifetime, unanticipated but utterly ours. A decade from that mower's fateful snag, Chicago had become our canvas. Strokes broad and bold, colors earned through sweat and surrender. The row house bloomed. Herb garden rioting with basil and regret-free mornings. Walls hung with Dante's blueprints alongside my framed diplomas. Rusty, gray-muzzled now, snored at our feet during dinner parties, where laughter drowned old echoes. My practice expanded, a satellite in Pilsen, bridging therapy to barrios like Dante's youth. His firm, a powerhouse, bridges bearing his signature from Milwaukee to the Mississippi, each a silent sermon on connection. Marriage sealed us in June haze, Ukrainian village streets strung with lights like fireflies on steroids. Vows exchanged under that oak, Abuela's spirit in the breeze. I, Dante Ramirez, take you, Jace Harlan, to span every chasm. Rings, simple tungsten, engraved with truss motifs. Slipped on amid cheers from Peoria kin, Southside aunties. Even Marco, best man with a speech that skewered his own scars. To the boys who mowed me out of their field, may your love always cut deep. We honeymooned the Route 66 way. Diner hops and desert dawns, ending in a Grand Canyon cabin where stars outnumbered doubts. Conflict, ever the uninvited guest, knocked post-vows. Dante's ambition crested, a bid for Chicago's next icon. A sustainable arch over the Chicago River, eco-forged and inclusive. Our magnum, he called it, eyes alight. But rivals circled. A corporate behemoth with deep pockets and deeper prejudices. Whispers of diversity hires, slithering boardrooms. Sleepless nights mounted. His sketches frantic. My reassurances wrote. Then the leak. Anonymous email to the Trib, doctored photos. Dante at a pride rally, arm around me, captioned with slurs implying distraction from duty. Betrayal's sting was corporate venom, outing us not as triumph but sabotage. Dante raged in our kitchen, coffee spilling like blood. They think we're a liability? After all this, I held him, but fury fermented. Petitions filed, lawyers looped, media allies from the Calumet win rallying. Climax unfolded in a high-rise hearing, glass walls framing the loops in different sprawl. Dante presented, voice thundersteady, holograms of the arch glowing, data on equity in infrastructure. This isn't just a span, it's solidarity. For every kid in Pilsen sketching dreams, every therapist in Logan healing hidden hurts. Judge us by our work, not our wedded hands. The room held breath. Rivals reps squirmed under scrutiny. We won. Bid awarded. Leak traced to a disgruntled exec. Headlines hailing Love's load-bearing legacy. But victory was Pyrrhic. Exhaustion etched lines on Dante's face. My sleep fractured by what-ifs. Marco crashed post-win. Beers on the stoop. Y'all are bulletproof now. But bullets still bruise. Therapy doubled down, couple sessions unpacking the toll. Rebuilding intimacy brick by vulnerable brick. Humanism's grace shone in quieter codas. Dad's widow visited, bearing his toolbox. For your fixes, boys. Sparking a fatherhood talk we'd skirted. Adoption whispers grew to roars. Foster classes in winter's grip. Home studies probing our patchwork pasts. Little Elias arrived spring 34. 4 years old, brown eyes wide as saucers, from a system that chewed dreams. His first daddies? Over pancakes melted us, Rusty's tail thumping approval. Parenting was plot twist profound. Elias's nightmares echoing our own, bedtime stories blending bridge lore and psych fables. Dante built forts from couch cushions, I mediated squabbles with feeling wheels. Challenges came, schoolyard taunts for our weird family. Elias's questions on why 2 dads but no mom. But we faced them tag team. Love's load shared. Tyler re-entered orbit unexpectedly. A client at my Pilsen site, hauling his teen through anger management. Karma's a bridge builder. He grunted, sessions yielding his own coming-out tale. Late bloomer gay, Elmwood a closet of denial. No hugs, but understanding, a humanistic handshake across old fields. Years layered like sedimentary truth. Elias thrived, sketches rivaling Dante's. Empathy honed in my office waiting room. Marco mentored him in art, his Milwaukee firm a summer haven. Peoria holidays swelled. Dad's widow as grandma, kin circles widening. Dante's arch rose, Ribbon cut with Elias clipping the first, our hands over his 3 generations spanning time. Betrayal's final bow? A memoir Dante penned, spans of the heart, topping charts, but plagiarized snippets surfacing from a ghostwriter ghost. Scandal simmered, but transparency triumphed. Press conference with receipts, book yanked, our truth unaltered. It underscored the theme. Love endures not despite flaws, but through them, dramatic in defense, suspense in survival, emotional in every exposed nerve. Now, on autumn eves, we walk the Calumet, Elias biking ahead, Rusty ambling loyal. That long afternoon, the mower's snag, Dante's laugh, feels like Genesis myth, unanticipated connection birthing a constellation. We've betrayed ourselves with doubts, been betrayed by worlds unyielding, but clashed through conflicts to climax in quiet triumphs. Humanistic to the core. No tidy bows, but a tapestry rich with regret's gold thread, romance's warm weave. In America's vast field, we mowed our path. Not straight, but true, harvesting a legacy where every boy finds his bridge, every heart its home.